Certainly a conversation that is never going to go away until all of the needful is done. Another conversation is that which you see on your screen, and that is that of health workers, especially at when we're contending with the pandemic. I wonder how they handled this 100 years ago. Most certainly, I don't think we had the kind of health worker problems that we had now. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to come out of it that easily.
Well, clearly they didn't have as much challenges, really, and the population maybe was not as much as this.
Okay.
With the population bulge comes a lot of things to contend with, and it will seem that things have even gotten more complicated.
Absolutely.
And the health sector should be a sector that really is optimally operated. It should be that efficient, effective sector of any society. The health sector is vital because it's closely tied to life. And I mean, what is life without life, right? But the challenge here is for decades now in Nigeria, we've had major challenge with the health sector. Is it administration? Is it manpower? Is it equipment, infrastructure, the facilities? I mean, you can have a long list of the challenges you have in the health sector. And decades after, these challenges are still there. And the gratifying fact is that the presidency came up with this presidential committee on salaries and hazard allowance for the health sector, because that has been a major challenge. NARD has been up in arms with the federal government. Last year we had a strike. This year again another strike. And you have Joheso also agitating and others saying that we need this to work. First, deal with our welfare, talk about infrastructure. So this morning we're taking a look at how far so far, as you will say.
Absolutely. And of course, that conversation takes us back to Mawpe in Abuja.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have with us in the studio Professor Innocent Uja, who is the president of the Nigerian Medical Association. Prof, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you very much, Mawpe.
It looks like one battle, I don't know what to say, whether it is ended now or it's simmering somewhere. A truce of some sort has been called between the federal government and striking doctors. Is it the Nigerian Association? I'm always mixing between national and Nigerian, but I think it's the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARD. They have called a truce. They have called up their strike and said, we're going to give peace a chance. 4 weeks to monitor what it is that the federal government, whether they would live up to their promise of fulfilling their mandate. But beyond that, we've also seen a larger conversation around hazard allowance, which involves all medical workers. Where would you say we currently are at with the ongoing conversations, and even if you're optimistic that this time around substantial progress will be made?
Well, thank you very much. Let me just say that the Nigerian doctor is very concerned about the quality of care of our patients. It is for the patients that we are trained, and we are usually at the forefront of providing quality health care for our patients. So anything that tends to disrupt or that will make the patient pain more severe than what it is not acceptable to us. So by and large, the issue that came up, fortunately the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors have suspended their action, and the government has started the process to look into some of the problems. Yes, the issue of hazard allowance has been on record that last year during COVID. There was some palliation in terms of the hazard allowance, but that didn't last for long. And therefore, to have a permanent hazard allowance for health workers, it became necessary that we begin to come together, and we came together to look at issues and to see how far we can go, so that we don't keep on coming in and out, because disruption of health service anytime is a very painful thing for doctors.
So the question is, are you optimistic that this time around progress will be substantial progress? It would not be a brief progress as was witnessed last year, where we only had the hazard allowance given specifically for, I think, for a period of 3 months.
Where is our hope and expectation that this time around we are coming to understanding of the processes, and we believe that the government is serious to ensure that they meet their own side of the bargain. And if that is done, I believe that all will be well.
How would you, respond? Because only recently, too, the federal government, I don't want to say they fought back, but it would seem that they also decided that they would remind doctors that some of the associations were not formed as trade unions. They said, oh, the NMA was not formed as a union. How are you balancing, the core purpose of your association with also demanding better welfare for doctors?
Well, the Nigerian Medical Association is not a union. I think we must be very emphatic on that. Nigerian Medical Association is a professional body of doctors in Nigeria. And in doing so, there are so many trajectories. One, the doctor must be competent, must be knowledgeable, and be competent. The doctor must continually train. The doctor will need equipment to work with. The doctor will need enabling environment to operate. So these are not union things. These are calling as doctors. That's the calling of the doctor. And to do that, we must ensure that these things function. There must be some agreement in all of the things I've talked about: continuous training, providing quality health services, ensuring that if there are gaps, we have to let the authorities know, because if we don't do that, we'll be failing in our responsibilities. And I think this is clearly what we are bringing to bear. It's not about unionism. We are not unions. We are professional bodies. And if you look at it, we talk with evidence. Whatever we say, we back with evidence. And that is science. And medicine is predicated on science. So it is not about unionism. If you look at that, I have been the president of the Nigerian Medical Association for getting to 1 year. And each time we've done whatever we have done was through advocacy, through consultation, constructive engagement, and letting government know what we needed to do. For instance, even before I came in, during the early days of COVID, there were some people who were imported. I say Chinese doctors or technicians, but the Nigerian doctors felt that we have the capacity to confront COVID-19. And we made it very known. That is not unionism. That is ensuring that the right things are done. Doctors and other health workers show clear commitment.
The question is, how are you able to balance? Because, I mean, perhaps the fear will now be, yes, indeed, you're a professional association, a professional organization, but some of the things that you have tabled are some of the things that doctors need, are things that are needed urgently for the smooth working of hospitals and health facilities, and also to ensure the health and well-being of Nigerians. How are you able to balance this in such a way that, and in many instances, they're needed urgently? The federal government only recently, when they went around in the wake of COVID, said they didn't realize how bad things were in terms of facilities at the hospitals. How are you able to balance and press home more urgently the need for the government to take action, even while at the same time being professional about it? Yeah,
but this is what I've said. Constructive engagement, dialogue, advocacy, those are the elements of negotiation. That's the message we carry to government. We negotiate, we inform them. If probably COVID had not come, some of the government officials may not have known how bad it is. We've been crying for improved healthcare, but that's not unionism. That's about professionalism. We know this, and we make these things known to the authorities. We needed this. Okay, for instance, we're talking about the molecular biology unit, right? PCR. When we say that we needed more PCR, that's not unionism. It is the equipment to enable us to work, to research, and also to provide clinical service. So how does that go? How has that become unionism? That we need,
What is wrong with being called a union anyway?
No. You see, the Nigerian nomenclature
yes.
of unionism is fight. I'm not for fight, but it's rough. And that is not what the Nigerian doctor stands for. And NMA has consistently stated, at least under my direction, under my leadership, that we are for negotiation, we are for advocacy, and I've done a lot of advocacy, I must say that.
Would you say that strikes is descending to rough?
Well, I don't know what you mean by that. The issue that when strikes happen, is to press home the demand. And it's the end of a process. Strike is the end of a process. And I also want to put it on record that for over 20 years, Nigerian Medical Association has not gone on strike, because we believe very strongly on advocacy. We believe on negotiation, a constructive engagement, and that's what we've been doing.
But is it a tool that you're afraid to use?
Which what?
A strike.
Why should you go on strike if all we need will be met? The message we are carrying is, let these things happen, because there is no need for strike. If these things happen.
Excuse me. You have seen, younger doctors in their own association go on strike.
Yes.
Is it a tool you approve of?
Well, let me tell you, the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors is a body of its own. It's one of the 9 affiliates of the Nigerian Medical Association. So they have their own organogram, they have their own structure. They are an affiliate of the Nigerian Medical Association. And I, as the Nigerian president of Nigerian Medical Association, we discuss. We try, of course we have the more senior people, but there are also doctors. Many of them are not as young as you would think. A resident is a person in training, a doctor in training. That doesn't mean he's a young person. So those are completely different issues, as you can see. However, we meet, and as I said, it's one of the 9 affiliates of the Nigerian Medical Association. We have the medical
The question I asked, sir, is whether or not you approve of the use of strike actions.
I don't be approving. Well, I don't have right to approve. I don't have the right to approve.
What I mean approve, not in your position as NMA president, but as a doctor as well. Is it a tool you are, I mean, if you say, for instance, that the NMA is, for the past 20 years, we have not gone on strike, we're not a union, and it will seem that one of the reasons why, I mean, I'm not saying that the NMA is a union, but it would seem that one of the things that you seem to be very reluctant to be associated with being called a union. You already said it yourself, it's rough. Those were your words.
Yes.
It's fight. We have seen the NARD consistently agitating for what rightfully should be theirs, and also asking for better conditions.
Yes.
Do you think that the tactics that they have employed will be considered rough?
Well, I don't have the right to determine whether their tactics is right or wrong. What I know as a president of NMA is to use negotiation, use constructive engagements, and of course, we need to advocate. Because you see, if you do not advocate, people may not know what the issues are. Those of us who are there, we know how it feels. And what I'm saying is that if the government comes up and explains, these are some of the things that we are doing, this is what we should do, this is how we should do it, I'm sure everybody will understand.
Prof, there's a larger conversation around medical personnel going on strike, and I don't think that conversation is happening in just Nigeria alone. Is it something that the NMA has discussed as a body, and if it's something you're willing to take a stand on?
Well, I think maybe we'll take it to World Medical Association. As you know, since you say it's not within Nigeria alone, and like I said, for the past 20 years, Nigeria Medical Association has not gone on strike. because we believe that we have to use constructive engagement.
It doesn't mean that doctors in Nigeria haven't gone on strike. Yes,
No, of course we had gone on strike
previously. The Medical Association hasn't gone on strike. Even the NMA has gone on strike. So
no, well before.
Yes.
Yes, we have. We have gone on strike before, but you see, you have to change strategies with changing times. And that is what we are doing. That's why I say I've been in NMA since 1981. As a resident doctor, I was a vice president of Nigerian, and at that time it was National Association of Resident Doctors. I have been vice presidents of Nigerian Medical Association. But the changing times require that we must change our strategy. And that is why we start and we continue to use some element of strategy. I mean, I fortunately, maybe because Prof. I was trained in NIPS, and we now find that it is necessary to use strategies, use negotiation, use advocacy to get
Prof, if I may come in now, speaking of those strategies which you have employed, I mean, you say NMA hasn't gone on strike in 2 decades. Nobody fancies a strike, really, but would you say that the NMA, or let me even say the medical sector at large, is better off as a result of those strategies you have put in place over the past 2 decades as an association? Would you say the medical sector is better off based on this strategy? Prof, let me just rephrase that if you can hear me. I'm asking that since you have changed strategies and no more strikes for the past 20 years, would you say that the medical sector is better off as a result of the new strategies employed over the past 20 years?
Well, gradually we are getting there. We couldn't say we have got all the best that we would need. For instance, it took some time for us to get PPE for the highly infective COVID-19. So the truth of the matter is that
the issue of COVID-19, pardon me, the issue of COVID-19 is, I mean, last year, this year issue. But I'm talking, if you compared what the health sector was 20 years ago with what it is now, which one would you say is better, 20 years ago or now?
Well, the issue that, I cannot make a statement of finality because I have to provide evidence. If I say it was better before than now, I must be able to have evidence because whatever I say as a professor and as a clinician, we have to have evidence. So maybe this is another research question that you're asking.
No, I mean, Prof, this is not a research question. This is a field you've been in for decades. I mean, it will be understandable if you are an engineer, and I was asking you about the health sector. But you are, you've said it, you've been almost at different levels. You've headed even government institutions. So you should know, I mean, more than anyone, if the health sector is better now than it was then, or if it's otherwise.
Well, you see, the truth is that I cannot be the dancer and the drummer. There are some people, we want even the media to tell us how far we are doing. We believe that we need to do better than what we are doing. There's no doubt about that. We need to do better than we are doing. For instance, let's talk about the PCR machine. When we say that we didn't have sufficient PCR machine, COVID-19 exposed it. And now we have over 50-something PCR machines. It may not be enough, but certainly it's better than 2. 50, 60 is better than 2. But what we look at is to look, to the future and plan for the future so that Nigerians can actually get the best out of the health system. It's very, very important. And 2 weeks ago, myself and my friend Chris Ngige, who were talking on issues about healthcare. He feels very strongly about that, and I want to let him know that as a friend, and of course, what I said was correct, but he feels strongly about that, and I want to let him know that I want to say that I apologize to him as a person, but the truth of the matter is that we need to do better than what we are doing.
Do you think that we have the will to do it? from what you have seen so far and the constant agitations that we have seen and the frequent strikes we have seen by one of your affiliates, do you think that there is a will at the level of government to do that?
Well, let me tell you this. The meeting we held yesterday clearly showed the commitment. I'm saying this from my own mind, and to be honest, everybody that was supposed to be there was there. The meeting was held in a very conducive and congenial atmosphere. There was no shouting, there was nothing. We put our points scientifically and humanely. And we all agreed, this is the way to go. And that is how it should be. And I'm happy, and I told them that I came to NMA to bring what we call clinical decorum, to ensure that our patients do not suffer unnecessarily. That is the truth. And the meeting yesterday clearly demonstrated that even all the groups are agreed on the modalities, on the strategies to move the issue of hazard allowance forward. We even introduced the issue, we even proposed, and this was agreed, on the retirement age, moving it from 60 to 65 and 70 as the case may be. And this was said to be, that they would be taken to the authority for consideration. Previously, probably it will end either in a shouting match and the rest, and that is not true. Yeah, that was not the case yesterday, I must say this. And all of us agreed that the meeting was held under congenial atmosphere. The ministers were there, ministers of health were there, a minister of labor and the state, Minister of State for Labor was there, permanent secretaries were there, and I think that is what should be. We have a stakeholders meeting where we all put, because what is the ultimate outcome is to improve the care of our patients. That is the ultimate outcome.
Indeed. I think that ultimately that's what Nigerians are looking for.
Yeah.
To improve the general well-being, health of Nigerians, and that of course includes doctors.
Yeah, that's right.
Of course, so we would like to also see that our doctors do not suffer as a result of trying to, serve Nigerians. So we have to thank you very much for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. It's an ongoing conversation.
That's correct.
I want to believe that very soon again we will be inviting you shortly. Professor Innocent Uja is the president of the Nigerian Medical Association, and we were talking about the healthcare sector.